The path down Grisdale Beck to Grasmere Vale is a route that has probably been followed by millions, but they tread a path where, in the past, famous names shared the same delights. In the 18th century, William Wilberforce and Thomas Gray travelled this way, Gray writing that it was a little unsuspected paradise. In the last century, Beatrix Potter, E.M. Forster and Malcolm Lowry have all trodden the same ground. But it was the lake poets, Wordsworth, Southey, Coleridge and De Quincey, who celebrated the area and made it famous. They and their friends shared picnics and sometimes laudanum in the beauty spots around Grasmere. Shakespeare's Stratford no longer survives. The Lake District of the poets remains much as it was. Silvered by the morning beam, the white mist curls on Grasmere's stream, which, like a veil of flowing light, hides half the landscape from the sight. It's easy to see why the poets chose the town and lake of Grasmere as their home, even though both William and Dorothy complained that their Dove Cottage was damp and draughty. New roads have been built around the lake, and some new buildings, but, at least other than in high season, Wordsworth's Grasmere remains much as it was. The Wordsworths loved the lake, both for the pike and perch they caught in its waters and for its beauty. They had picnics and a bonfire on an island in the lake, and Coleridge recalled them dancing round the fire with ruddy, laughing faces. In a poem composed by the side of Grasmere Lake, Wordsworth might have been thinking of our time. Be thankful thou, for if unholy deeds ravage the world, tranquility is here. Leaving Grasmere means leaving the home of the poets, but not the scenery that inspired them. The ascent of Helm Crag leading west is not difficult unless, like one traveller in 1792, one has lunched beforehand. In a local hostelry, Joseph Budworth ate stuffed roast pike, a boiled fowl, veal cutlets and ham, beans and bacon, anchovy sauce, vegetables, bread, and 3 cups of preserved gooseberries and cream. After that, he said, he found Helm Crag formidable. Helm Crag leads directly to Calf Crag, which Coleridge said was a place to wander and wander for ever and ever. Wandering not quite forever leads eventually to the little town of Rosthwaite, the so-called capital of Borrowdale. From Rosthwaite, the road north leads up Borrowdale until, after a couple of miles, it reaches Derwentwater, another beauty spot. At Derwentwater in 1772, Benjamin Franklin poured oil on the lake when it was choppy. He was so pleased with his scientific research, he sent details to the Royal Society. The poet Keats visited the lake 35 years later. He wrote, "The approach to Derwentwater surpassed Winandermere. It is richly wooded and shut in with rich-toned mountains. William Hazlitt, the writer and would-be artist, was chased out of the area for indecently assaulting a young woman. Leaving Rosthwaite to the west, the path of the coast-to-coast walk follows the line of the Honister Pass. The pass leads into what is known as the Secret Valley, to Buttermere, and then to Crummock Water, beyond it in the distance. Buttermere is more celebrated not for its own beauty, but for the legendary beauty of a girl who worked in an inn at the water's edge 200 years ago. Joseph Budworth, the man who ate lunch, found 15-year-old Mary and wrote about her beauty. People flocked to see the Maid of Buttermere, including a confidence trickster and bigamist who married her. Even today, books and plays are still written about her. To the south of Buttermere, and almost parallel with it, is Ennerdale Fell, the route the walker follows, probably with reluctance, out of the Lake District. Ennerdale Water is the most western of the lakes and almost the end of the Lake District National Park. Ennerdale is probably the least touched of the lakes. It has no roads, no railway line and no electricity until 1989. It's hardly surprising, therefore, that it's a lake beloved by fishermen, especially those seeking brown trout and char. In one way, though, it has changed out of recognition. The Forestry Commission planted conifers along one side of the lake in the 1930s. The outcry at the time was such that it probably prevented similar planting elsewhere.